If you're trying to become fluent in Spanish, you've probably tried everything just like I did. Maybe I need another app. There are a lot of language schools. Maybe I should study abroad. I'm gonna watch every Spanish movie and listen to every podcast. You know, the real trick is probably to have a native Spanish-speaking partner. Like I said, I tried everything, and guess what? I still wasn't fluent. Pero ahora puedo decirte con mucho orgullo que ya puedo hablar el español con fluidez. And in just a moment, I'm gonna tell you the secret that worked for me, but first I want to explain why all those things I mentioned before didn't make me fluent. First of all of these things can and will help you become fluent in Spanish, but you have to understand how they work and when they don't. Language learning apps like Rosetta Stone or Duolingo can really help you with vocab or learning new expressions or help you with your grammar, but I think two things happen really badly when you use apps. And the first is that we tend to do these exercises passively and not actively. And the second is, especially Duolingo is very guilty of giving expressions like, my cat loves to drive me to the store, or there's a horse in my living room, which is hilarious, but it's not helpful. Studying abroad and immersing yourself into a culture is actually probably the best way to learn a language, but it doesn't help you at all if you did what I did, where I went to another country when I was very young and a little too shy to actually speak or try new things. And especially living with other younger Spanish people that wanted to practice their English, I went months without ever practicing and never improving. Bad Jeff. Watching Spanish TV or movies or listening to podcasts is something that can really improve your Spanish, but it falls into the same category of apps where it doesn't really help if you do it passively or if you do it at a level that's too advanced. I loved La Casa de Papel, but for me, the Spanish accent from Spain is a little harder to understand, and they tend to speak much faster. And at that time, it really was just too advanced for me and just kind of frustrated me. Whereas a little bit later, I watched a show from Mexico that was called Monarca, and to me, the accents were just clearer and I just understood it better, and that was what motivated me to keep watching it. I'm probably the most guilty of hating on YouTube channels that all say, how I became fluent in just 3 days. And you see that they have a native speaking partner. It's like, well, no wonder, but I gotta tell you, it's really, really not true. At least not in my case. Although I have a beautiful Spanish speaking partner, on a daily basis, you're just living your life and working, and you're not correcting each other all day long and practicing all day long. A lot of times, your level just kind of stays the same. Okay, so what's my secret? The big reveal? What made me fluent was speaking. I know this is nothing groundbreaking, but all I can tell you is what honestly worked for me, and it was the day that I stopped caring what people thought and just began to speak with anybody, everybody, regardless of how many mistakes I made, and I was made fun of plenty. My Spanish improved to fluency in just under a year. So, what can you do to gain fluency in Spanish, especially quickly? I alluded to it a few times in this video already, but what you can do is anything, everything. Immerse yourself in the language, but do it actively and not passively. Do it with a purpose. With apps, you don't need to do 20 lessons a day, just do 1 or 2. But for those 5 minutes, you're completely actively doing these exercises. You're dedicated, you're writing down new phrases you like, words that you didn't know before. You're studying them and then incorporating them immediately into your speaking. Study abroad if you can, and speak from day one. If you're in college, do a semester abroad. If you can take a week of vacation to go to another country, and especially if you can attend a language school, do that. If you can't leave the country, try to find online lessons just twice a week where you're speaking with a native. Also, there are a lot of language exchange apps that are free. Just don't make the mistake I did where I was always writing people. Take the little time that you have and put all your effort into it, sending voice notes or doing an audio call. Spanish TV and movies or listening to podcasts is a great way to hear different accents, the different ways people speak, or especially slang. But I personally don't retain anything when I'm listening or watching to these things passively. Watch something or listen to something actively for a short time, Write it down, study it, and immediately incorporate it into your speaking. If you feel like I'm repeating myself, it's because I actually am. Everything comes down to speaking. If you're lucky enough, like me, to have a partner or a friend that's a native Spanish speaker, try to do mini lessons with them every day or once a week. Write down their corrections, study them, and immediately try to incorporate them into your speaking. When I've done this actively, I've been able to use these new words or phrases within a day or two. But if I'm just kind of passive about it, I'm still asking over 100 times how to say the same word. I would also add, one of the best things you can do is to have short, measurable goals that you can see. So daily, weekly, monthly, yearly short goals that you can attain. Think of, this week, I want to learn relative pronouns and practice them with a native Spanish speaker in my language exchange. So in doing this, you can see that you learned something new and then practiced it with a native, and you can feel proud about that. Nice. And enjoy the process, make mistakes, studying, finally understanding a movie that you didn't understand before, being able to order in a restaurant, whatever it is, this is what makes language learning so fun. Bueno, eso es todo por hoy. Espero que te haya gustado este video. Checa nuestros otros videos en este canal para mejorar tu español y nos vemos pronto.